Today we're going to have a presentation by Hugh Doyle on Arleigh Burke tin can sailors. And that's particularly timely because right now, as you know, and I wish I was on one, a lot of our destroyer friends are out in the Straits of Hormuz right this very minute. And can you imagine how tense it must be when you never know what's going to get thrown at you? But I think you're going to see when Hugh tells you about the capabilities of that destroyer, you're going to be amazed. Nevertheless, it's tense out there.
Jeff kind of stole my thunder a little bit because I'm going to be getting into the capabilities, the anatomy of this Arleigh Burke destroyer. But I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on today in the Middle East, so just so you can calibrate how big this problem is for today's modern tin can sailor, the sailors aboard these ships. Tony? Okay, I got to get going.
I got a question for you. That's the class of ship that we went aboard in Norfolk, is that not correct?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Those of you who were in the Norfolk, the Norfolk reunion, that's the class, yes. All right, well, welcome. We're going to talk about the anatomy of the Arleigh Burke class destroyer. Today's modern tin can. But first, let's look at the evolution here. Left-hand side, 1902 USS Bainbridge, DD-1, 700 tons, crew of 74. Go all down the left-hand side. Tracy, I chose that 4-stack destroyer because every one of us has a DD-214. That's DD-214 to Tracy. 1,300 tons. How many Fletcher guys in here? No Fletchers. One Fletcher guy. 2,900 tons. There's an asterisk off to the side there. Look at the crew members of the Fletcher, 329. When USS Fletcher was commissioned, there were only 274 men aboard. That's because its anti-aircraft battery was a single four-barrel 1.1 Chicago piano, I think they called them, and 4 20 millimeters. That was it. By the end of the war, they had gone from 274 guys to 329 because of the vast increase in the anti-aircraft capability of the ship. Sumner guys, Sumners, okay, and gearings are Frams. All right,
yeah.
you can see represented by the Sumner there, 3,300 tons. Let's go right to the bottom. You can see we're getting bigger and bigger. Arleigh Burke, the original Arleigh Burke was 9,000 tons. The one that was just commissioned, the Flight 3, 10% increase in tonnage, 9,900 tons. All right, why am I doing this? Well, people say, oh boy, these new ships, they're as big as a World War II cruiser, right? You've heard that from a lot of people. Well, let's look at this. 2 World War II cruisers. USS Cleveland, which is a light cruiser, 14,000 tons. USS Salem, right up the creek here. Those of you who have not been aboard Salem, make a point of doing it. It's a great museum. 21,000 tons, and look at the number of crew aboard, 1,800. All right. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here is the length to beam. The speed of a ship is governed by its power, the design of its hull, but most by its length to its beam ratio. And if you can see, the original Bainbridge, generally a destroyer is 10 to 1. So look on down here until you get to the Arleigh Burke. You can look at 7.7. She's fat. She's a fat ship. Look at the very bottom. I don't speak French, but the Terrible, the French destroyer pre-war, it still holds the speed record for conventionally powered water hull-mounted or hull-immersed ships. 45 knots. 45 knots. And it's long and skinny. Just imagine pushing a broomstick through the water as opposed to a block of wood with the same density. All right. Give you an example, there's my first ship, Montrose. 18 knots, 7.3, a merchant hull fat. And the Gerald Ford, believe it or not, is an 8.2. It's sleeker, slimmer than an Arleigh Burke destroyer. It's also 30 plus knots. All right, look at the lifespan of destroyers. And this is an important point, the bottom line, but look at the lifespan. And what I mean by lifespan, USS Fletcher was commissioned on a certain day. The very last Fletcher class ship was decommissioned. What I mean is the lifespan of the class. And you can see the lifespan of all those ships is in the 30s, less than 40 years. But look at the bottom. Arleigh Burke, every single one of the ships, there are 99 ships that either have been commissioned or under construction or approved. 99, and it's going to be plus because we keep adding them to them. By the time the very last one is out of commission, it's going to be a class that's been in the United States Navy for over 100 years. Over 100 years. Point I'm trying to make here, the Arleigh Burke class of destroyer is the heart and soul of the Navy right now. Let's talk about Persian Gulf for a minute. Let's go away from the ship and let's talk about what Jeff alluded to on the intro. We currently have, this is the Persian Gulf, here's the Strait of Hormuz, Persian Gulf, Gulf of Oman, Arabian Sea. These in Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia all have either U.S. military bases or they support us with their bases. And if you take a look, Iran owns the northeast coast of the Persian Gulf, and all these countries own the southwest coast. The dimensions, you hear Persian Gulf, what do we know? The dimensions 650 miles from the UAE to Kuwait. That dimension is 650 miles. This dimension, the widest, is 210 miles. Strait of Hormuz is about 30 miles across, but the Strait of Hormuz, of course, it all depends on the draft of your ship. If you've got a very deep draft ship, you don't have 30 miles to deal with. You have a much less. Just to put it in perspective, if you drove from Boston to Norfolk, it's 570 miles. You still have 80 more miles to go to match the length of the Persian Gulf. Boston, New York City, about 215 miles. Here's Boston, here's New York City. That's the size we're talking about. Now, how many ships can you put in there? This is a snapshot of Operation Desert Storm. You guys remember Desert Storm, 1991. Coincidentally, it was just a few months before the very first Arleigh Burke ship was commissioned. The Arleigh Burke itself was commissioned in 1991. Within the Persian Gulf, within those 650 to 200 mile, there were over 100 warships gathered. 3 entire battle groups, 2 battleships, the Missouri and the Wisconsin, 7 cruisers, 15 destroyers, and all the rest were amphibs, service force, mine force, etc. And it was a multinational force. United States, and I'm just going to mention the non-Muslim countries. United States, Great Britain, France, Germany, Australia, and others. All in there. So the Persian Gulf is not small. It's a big body of water. Well, what's been happening over there? October 3rd of 2023, a little over 2 years ago, the USS Carney shot down 3 Houthi cruise missiles that were fired from Yemen to Israel. USS Carney shot them down. A couple months later, Carney again in the Red Sea. You remember when the Houthi, they were trying to keep merchants from going up and down. Took down 3 Houthi drones, and in fact, another source I've read was it was 3 Houthi missiles and 15 drones were taken down by the Carney. Okay, moving forward, March of 26. Okay, we're in May of 26, so March, just a couple months ago. And you might remember this from the evening news just a couple months ago. 3 ships, the Murphy, the Spruance, and the Peterson. Right. We're protecting the Abraham Lincoln Battle Group in the Gulf of Oman. 101 missiles were fired at the aircraft carrier. You might remember the president talking about this a couple times. 101 were fired, we shot them all down. That's what he's talking about. These are the 3 ships that were formally assigned to the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group, but there were 3 more that were independent. So there were actually, I couldn't find out who these other 3 were, but there were 6 Arleigh Burke guided missile destroyers protecting the carrier. So they were shot down by, it was a cooperative deal. The destroyers shot some down, and also the aircraft carrier's own air wing. 7th of May, what's today? Today's the 14th, right? 7 days ago, last week, Iranian forces launched multiple missiles, drones, and small boats at the Truxton, the Peralta, the Rafael Peralta, and the Mason. They were transiting remember they were the first group that did all right. None of the assets were struck. I don't know how many were shot down, how many just didn't make it. But this is the problem in the Strait of Hormuz now. The drones, now I don't know that this is a representative drone. I don't know that it's an Iranian drone. But this is what you're facing now. About 110 miles an hour, slow-moving drone. And just dozens or even hundreds of these small boats armed with small machine guns and little rocket launchers up here. That's the problem. I'm going to ask you to remember this little bit right here. This is the video. That's how the guy sitting back on the beach, he's looking at the target and he's flying this thing. That's what he's looking through right now. And of course, it gets destroyed with the explosion along with the rest. All right. How big is this thing? Operation Epic Fury, that was 60 days, February through May of 26. We now, Project Freedom, they don't call it an operation, Project Freedom, that was escorting, and that's been put on hold by the president. That's the escorting of the merchant ships through the strait. It's still there, but it's on hold. Since late 25, when this buildup really started, there have been 30 DDGs, and they're listed on the 2 sides here. 30 of them have taken part in this operation. The USS Ford has since gone home, taking some of hers with them. Some of the independent destroyers have gone home. But the 18 of them in bold red are still there today, right now. They're still there in the Arabian Sea, Gulf of Oman and the Arabian Sea. There are also 2 destroyer squadron commodores there too. Those are the guys right now who are waiting for what the president is going to decide. The anatomy of an Arleigh Burke. The ship you're looking at, the Jack H. Lucas, is the first of the Flight 3s, and I'll get to the flights in a minute. It's the most modern one. It's the one most recently commissioned. It is a quantum leap forward. The commanding officer of the Jack Lucas and all the Flight 3s will be a 4-stripe captain. How many of you have served aboard a destroyer with a 4-stripe captain? Nobody. 4-stripe captain?
Yeah, you want something fun?
Okay, but it was not a normal thing. Yeah. But now they're all 4-stripe captains with a commander as XO, not as captain. And it's really a recognition of what these ships have really become. They've really become a cruiser, in my opinion. Yeah. All right. What are the flights that I just mentioned? Flights and variants, they're really, you guys remember Mark and Maud? You know, the marks and mods, they're now called, they're calling them flights here. Haven't gotten rid of the mark and mod, but they're for, in this, I don't know why they called them flights, probably in Airedale was the first one to think it up. There's flight 1, these are versions of the ship. So they're basically 4 versions, and in true Navy fashion, you wouldn't label them 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we go to Roman numerals, and 1, 2, 2A, 3. But there are 4 different versions, and the asterisk, what that red asterisk is, the Navy and Congress couldn't get their act together some years back. So the Navy had money, Congress would not let them spend it. So what they did is they said, we can't just let this go, so we're going to order 3 more ships, and they're called a restart. So if you ever see a Flight 2A restart, those are ships that the Congress authorized just to keep the line going. Later on, they canceled the DDGX program, the follow-on to the Arleigh Burke was canceled. Meanwhile, there's the industry was creating all this gee-whiz new equipment for the DDGX. And they said, we got all this gear, what are we going to do with it? So 10 of these ships, 10 of the ships of the Flight 2A were called the technology insertion. They took all this technology that was being built for the future, it's now sitting on the shelf, and they brought it forward and they installed it in the 10 ships that are called TI. So if you ever hear that term, technology insertion, that's what it's all about. And Flight 3 is DDG 125 and newer. Just how many we are talking about? 99 ships have been either commissioned or authorized or under construction. 75 of them are active, 24 of them are in some form of not being yet. Give you an idea how recently all this is. DDG 128, the next, is currently underway. She's going to her, to Norfolk, Virginia, which is her new home port. She's not even commissioned yet. So, and that was just last week, they got underway. So they're probably in Norfolk now. But they're going to commission her because it's USS Ted Stevens. Ted Stevens was an Alaska senator. So they're going to go back through the Panama Canal in the fall up to Anchorage, Alaska to be commissioned at the request of the people of Alaska. DDG 149, the 99th to be authorized, was just authorized a week and a half ago. So you can see we're still charging ahead with this class of ship. All right, one of the things about the Arleigh Burke, she's short and fat compared to normal destroyers, what we consider normal destroyers, but she has a wide flared bow, and they purposely did that. If you look at this picture on the beam of an Arleigh Burke plowing into a swell, and you're thinking, wow, there's green water up to the bridge. No, this is what that wide bow does. It parts the waves. So it improves speed, stability, seakeeping, and it provides a stable platform for its weapons and its helicopter. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but this is a Flight 2A, and it showed the ship is really built around its combat systems, its phased array radar, and that's what these faces are, what you see in green here. But I'll be hitting some of these as we come. That's the USS Jason Dunham 109. This is also, I'm not going to bother you with all the detail, but I'm going to talk about only 3 things, the 3 red arrows. The major change in the Flight 3 is a complete major upgrade to its radar system. The Spy 1 radar on the first 3 flights is being replaced by the Spy 6 radar, which is a quantum leap upward in its ability. Just the radar face itself on the flights 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 2A, The face of the radar, that big panel, is 12 feet across. The new are 14 feet across. So it's just in size, the whole thing is bigger. In order to support that, they generated an enormous amount of heat. Enormous amount of heat. So you have air conditioning plants. If you remember, how was your air conditioning aboard your tin cans? Right. Well, vitally important, not for crew comfort, although that's a byproduct, but because of the heat generated by the electronics aboard the ship. Enormous amount of heat. The first 3 flights had 200-ton, 5 200-ton air conditioning plants. The flight 3 has 5 350-ton air conditioning plants, just to support the additional heat from the electronics. Electrical. The first three ships, the first 3 flights had 3 ship service gas turbine generators rated at 4,000 watts, right? 4,000 kW. kW. All right. I'm a steam guy, so all you electronic guys, you gotta throw stuff at me when I say that. Okay. My ship, I was chief engineer on the Kirk. We had 3 ship service turbine generators, 750 kW apiece. On the gearings, you had 2 generators, 350 kW. So compare your 350 kW generators to 3,000 kW generators on the flights 1, 2, and 3. But then they went to 4,000 on the flight 3 because of the demand for power. The demand for power.
Still the LM2500s, right?
Pardon me?
It's still the LM2500.
Yeah, but it's a little different. I'll show you. What the basic improvements are, the SPY-6 radar, it's highly sensitive, really highly sensitive. It's a major improvement because of the superior detection in hypersonic missiles, ballistic missiles. This is kind of a hybrid thing. Ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, stealth aircraft. A lot of that stuff couldn't be seen by the old SPY-1 radar. SPY-6 can see it. And high clutter environments are swarms. You know, we talk about the swarming attack of drones and missiles. That's a high clutter environment. ASW. By the way, there's a model of the Arleigh Burke back right beside Tony back there. But the SQS 53 sonar is in that dome forward. For those of you who might have served on other ships with it, it was the SQS 29. This is it's an improvement of the 29 sonar. 29 sonar, or the 35 sonar, is active and passive, but it's supported by a tactical towed array system. It's stowed internally and fed out through a hole in the back of the ship. You know, just send it out. TACTAS, any 1052 guys in here besides me? Okay, did you have TACTAS? You have tactical towed array somewhere?
Yep.
Okay. TACTAS is still there, but there's a new one. TACTAS was passive only. The new one that's going into the newer ships is a multifunction towed array, which is active and passive. It actually has an active component to it. And this is a good look at the USS Stetham DDG-63 in dry dock. That's what she looks like, sitting in dock with that dome. It's one of the reasons you've got to be real careful when you're going to anchor with any of these ships with a bow-mounted sonar. All right, Slick 32. Slick 32 was, my ship had an SLQ 32. They still have them. Slick 32 is in electronic warfare. It's designed to detect threats to the ship, and the old Slick 32 would be key to certain frequencies of the Soviet missiles or North Korean missiles. They constantly are changing their library of threat. But the Slick 32, originally, the version that's on the early Arleigh Burkes, was basically, they called it soft kill. You're trying to divert the missile away from you in some way. They have a little bit of active jamming capability on the original ones. The new one, and take a look at this ship. This is the Pinckney. Were any of you here for that very informative, excuse me, that very informative talk we had from Master Chief Esparza? He was in uniform. He was the Master Chief of the command of the USS Pinckney. He's one of us. We got him signed up as a tin can sailor. He's on the staff of the Senior Enlisted Academy in Newport. He was the Master Chief of that ship. They went from the before, SLQ-32 is a little tiny thing here. Little tiny thing is probably this big on the side of the ship. To look at this, it looks like a chipmunk or a squirrel with nuts in his mouth. Quantum leap forward. Now the electronic warfare guys, those strange little people sitting in CIC, or the EW guys, they can now actively destroy. They can actually destroy a target coming in actively. Yeah, EW operator also controls decoys. SRBOC is a super RBOC, they call it. It's a rapid blooming overhead off-board chaff. And they fire it, there's a missile coming at the ship, they fire it, it sends out all kinds of little streams of things, and the missile will divert and home on this decoy. That's what super RBOC is. Nulka is an interesting one. It's I believe it's Norwegian. It's a foreign country, but it's a thing that pops out of the ship, and it hovers. It hovers in the wake of the ship, emitting this false signal. So it's something in the air that's hovering. Nulka. This other thing, they don't have a neat name for it. IDS 300 is thrown off the side of the ship. It's a float with a reflector on it, just an old-fashioned target. The Royal Navy used it, so we now use it. And so if there's something coming in, you throw this thing off. It's a little more sophisticated than that. It emits a signal and everything, but hopefully it'll decoy it away. This this thing is called the Surface Electronic Warfare Improvement Program. This, which makes a destroyer looks like a fat cow. It's on 2 ships now. The Pinckney was the first, and it's also on DDG 93, and it's soon to go on to 95 and 97. To show you how big it was, they had to put Pinckney in the shipyard for 2 years in order to make that improvement. 2 years, and it was just to do that. So, big money. And it's called the Slick 32. All right. The obvious visual difference between the flights 1 and 2 and the flight 2A and 3 are the helicopter facility. The first 2 versions, the Arleigh Burke and all the way up to the end of flight 2, those ships do not have a hangar. They don't have a hangar. They can handle, they have a flight deck, they can handle the Lamps Mark III, the ASW helicopter. Both of these ships have exactly the same electronics set up to work with the Lamps helicopter, but these guys cannot support it. By the way, take a look at this little, that's not a mooring line, that's a TACTAS. That's towed array sonar coming out the stern of the ship. Can you see that right there coming out of that orifice there? The flights 2A and 3 can handle 2 helicopters. There are 2 hangars here and here, and between the 2 hangars is the vertical launch field, the 64 cell vertical launch field between the 2 hangars. This is the MH-60R, they call it Romeo, the Lamps 3. This little thing I said RAST, this is a recovery recovery assist, I forget all the word, but in heavy weather, this ship can hover above this, drop a messenger down, pick up a cable, pull the cable up, connect it to the ship. The pilot then says he's ready, and the RAST operator then puts a tension on it. The pilot tries to go up. The RAST pulls him down right onto that little sled. And then you can see there's a track in the deck. One track goes into one hangar, the other track goes into the other hangar. Depending on where they're going to put him, that little sled then, with this guy firmly attached, drags him right into the hangar. So your ship may be rolling like this, but that, boom, it'll pull him right down. It's been around for a long time. It was on the Spruance class. No, I'm sorry, it was on the Fig 7 class. You see over here, the model on the wall here. Created by the Canadians, the RAS system. Here's the helicopter. MH-60 Romeo Lamps Mark III. Those of you who are on the 1052s were the Mark II, Lamps Mark II. Often referred to as the flying frigate. Now, why would you say that? Well, look at its missions: anti-submarine warfare, anti-surface warfare, and electronic warfare. I skipped over AAW, and there's a little, you can't imagine a helicopter shooting down an aircraft. However, there's a rumor. That's why that's why I put a little asterisk here. There's a rumor that a Romeo, one of these guys, just recently shot down an Iranian drone with a Hellfire missile in the air. He intercepted him, shot him down. I don't know if that's true. I love sea stories, so I'd like to meet the pilot who did it. He's talking to somebody about it. He's got it. So its missions are very similar to a frigate. Its armament, it can carry 3 torpedoes. The old Lamps 2 could carry 2. It can carry 3 torpedoes, 8 Hellfire missiles, which are air to surface. Can carry the naval strike missile, 2 of those. That's a Norwegian missile, incredible, with a huge warhead. It can carry those. And it can carry 12 70-millimeter rockets. 70-millimeter, that's almost 3 inches. 3-inch rockets. Now also in the door, 50 caliber. I said M60 machine gun, but they're using the M240 now. It's not M60 anymore. It can't carry all that at the same time. It doesn't have the ability to, it doesn't have the spots to do it, but that's a mix of what they can carry. It's got radar. It's linked to the Aegis combat system. All its sensors are linked right to the ship. Electronic support measures, ESM. FLIR, this is forward-looking infrared unit. It has, believe it or not, it has dipping sonar, and it also has MAD gear. You guys remember this? MAD gear is the magnetic anomaly detector. They still use it, and it has a dipping sonar capability that the Lamps Mark II didn't have. Okay, what is it? It's twin engine, 1900 horsepower each engine. It's 145 knot cruising speed. It can, with a burst up to 180 knots if it has to. It can stay on station for only 2 hours. That's the problem with helicopters. It's their energy demand. So here's a picture of an earlier SH-60. This is quite old picture, but it shows what they're doing. They're dropping Mark 46 torpedo, and it's got a drogue that keeps it oriented properly going into the water. You can see this red panel here, these dots. Those are sonobuoy. It's a sonobuoy ejector. It's on the other side of this guy here. Okay. It has a crew of either 3 or 4. Two pilots and 2 equipment operators. All right. It's good to snipe stuff. Here we go. Twin screw, controllable reversible pitch propellers, just like the FFG over here. Big difference here, it's got the LM2500 engines, but the LM2500 TAC 30. And what do we mean by that? The Spruance class destroyer had 4 LM2500 destroyers. destroyers. Ford 2500 LM 2500 engines. However, their shaft horsepower of the Spruance was only 80,000. These same 4 engines have been upgraded to where they're now putting out a total of 100,000. So the Arleigh Burke is a 100,000 shaft horsepower destroyer. 100,000. Ship I was on was I was chief engineer on the Kirk 1087. We were at 35,000 shaft horsepower. So we were on 1/3 the horsepower of an Arleigh Burke. Electrical, 3 SST, no, I've already talked about this, 3,000 kW each. And for the first 3 flights, and 4,000 because of the demand for power. And the air conditioning units, well, I've already talked about that. So those are the basic snipe stuff, I call it. For those of you who've stood watch on the bridge, this is the helm unit of the Thomas Hudner. This is one of your photographs. The helm unit of the Thomas Hudner, DDG 116, that was commissioned here in Boston a couple years back. Steve and Dave represented us at the commissioning of this, and they had the tour. Big thing, there's no engine or telegraph anymore, right? There's no throttleman down below opening and closing the throttle. None of that. It's bridge control. That's it right there. Touch screen. Bridge control of the engines. This is on the helm. I can guarantee you the captain doesn't let the helmsman fool with the engines. So I think that's defeated on most of them because they have remote controls all around the bridge. For those of you guys who have stood helm watch, look closely at what this says. Right here on the helm. The helm's only the size of a car steering wheel now. Left rudder with an arrow. Right rudder with an arrow. There's a story behind that. There's got to be a story behind that. Oh, your other left. Your other port. You remember that? Yeah, no, your other left. Anyway, that's the helm station. He's got his gyro repeater right here. He's got his rudder angle indicator right here. So it's all done right there. And by touch screen. So, but the main thing is bridge control of engines. I probably told this story before. I worked for Commodore, who told me the story about him coming in. He was he had a gearing. He was coming into a pier in San Diego, going right up against the quay wall, and he was going to do a John Wayne arrival. And he said, all engines back 2/3. Right. One engine room answered the bell, the other one didn't. Kaboom! Of course, now with bridge control, all he would have to do is put his 2 fingers on that touch screen and go, and the engine would do that.
Should do that.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, the real heart, if you take a look at this down here, this is the Mark 41 vertical launch system, and it will take all sorts of different missiles. Tomahawk, land attack, they're the ones that we fired over 1,000 Tomahawks in the last 2 months. Over 1,000 Tomahawks have been fired by these guys. That's a Tomahawk coming out of the grid. The SM-2 family are anti-air, basically anti-air missiles, with the SM-6 version anti-ballistic missile. We'll pick up a ballistic missile as it's coming through the atmosphere, coming out of the outer space into our atmosphere. This ESSM is the Evolved Sea Sparrow. Those of you who might have had the little box on your fantail of the 1052 guys, only a couple of us, that was the Sea Sparrow, which was originally fighters would carry the Sparrow missile. The Navy took him, put him in a box on many ships 50 years ago. This has since evolved into a vertical launch, and I called it quad pack. This cell, which would normally carry one Tomahawk or one SM family, could carry 4 of those in a quad pack. Also carries a vertical launch ASROC. They're working, this is to come. This naval strike missile from the Norwegians, they're already got it fitted into, it's not out in the Persian Gulf right now, but that's to come. And long-range anti-ship missile is a adaptation of a U.S. Air Force airdropped missile. Yes, Jim?
Are you going to touch on replenishing?
Yes, yes.
Because that's a major question
Sure.
for me.
What Jim's talking about is, you know, you guys who are gunners, you know, you're on the gun line on Vietnam and pound, 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 and sun goes down, you're over the horizon doing a night unrep, rearming, and you're back on the line the next day, or thereabouts. Not the case here. You've got 96, there are 64 back aft, and 32 up forward. Once you fired them, it's Miller time. You know, you're done. You're no longer an asset. So how do you redo these? You have to go in port. You have to go into a safe, friendly port with the proper cranes, the proper support in order to refill those. The Navy's working on a way to do it at sea. They have not perfected it yet. But that's a serious Achilles heel problem we have right now.
So where are they doing it over there?
The testing?
No, where are they replenishing them over there?
Oh, do you remember the slide there about Bahrain and
Yeah.
United Arab? Those are safe. The Central Command, Admiral Cooper that you see on TV, he's CENTCOM, he's Central Command. He's in Bahrain, I think, that's where he's.
they're going
But,
there.
oh yeah, those are friendly ports. But they're inside the Persian Gulf.
Yeah.
All our guys are outside the Persian Gulf. But these two missiles are a quantum leap forward. One of the problems was let me see if I've got this next one. All right, I'll come back to it. But you don't see Harpoon in here. Harpoon is not a vertical launch missile. Harpoon is fired from boxes, and I'll show you them later on. The first two the first two flights 1 and 2, the ones that did not have a hangar, they had Harpoon, 8 of them, 4 starboard and 4 port. When they took over all that real estate to put the hangars in, they got rid of the Harpoon. So that was a real failing of the Arleigh Burke class destroyer. For the longest time, the Harpoon, we had no anti-ship capability because the Tomahawk is a land attack missile. But look down here. That's what I should have put this asterisk here. That's relatively new. The Tomahawk has been reworked to be not just a land attack missile, but it's also an anti-ship missile now. And that's called the maritime strike version of it. Here are the guns. You have 2 versions of the gun. The 5-inch, the first DD 51 through 80 had 5-inch 54, right? 5-inch 54 gun. And you guys probably know to determine the length of the barrel, 5 times 54, number of inches of the barrel from the breech face to. All right. From DDG 81 and later, the same gun basically, a lot of modifications, 5-inch 62. So 40 inches longer. The gun barrel is 40 inches longer, firing the same projectile. What's that mean? Higher muzzle velocity, improved range, improved land attack performance. In other words, you can really get it over the horizon. Look carefully at this is the original version. Look how rounded the gun mount is, and this is the way they look now, very angular. I think that's done for what do you call it? For stealth purposes. But don't bet the ranch. Sometimes you'll see this gun with that mount. It's confusing. It needs ammunition. It's all the traditional stuff, you know, all the traditional 5-inch gun ammunition. But it's also got a Vulcano. Vulcano is an Italian version with a guidance. You can actually guide the Vulcano. We're now firing that. So once it's in the air, you can redirect it to a different target. Also, hypervelocity projectiles. I don't really know what that entails. I couldn't find, this is what I mean. Sometimes you get into you can find out what the title of something is, but you can't find out what it really means. So, carry 600 rounds in the magazine. And there are 20 rounds actually in, by the way, no one's inside this thing. It's completely automated. But there are 20 rounds up out of the magazine ready to go. One of the things, if you can look closely here, one of the things that really impressed me about this, you see all these spent rounds? I tried to count them. There are at least 35 or 40 of them, right? This guy, here's the bullet right there. But he's got them all over the place. That thing is working just fine. Okay, more about guns. The ships have the CWIS, close-in weapon system. Close-in weapon system on the first 2 flights are fore and aft. It's only aft on flight 2A and flight 3. It's got a 25 millimeter Bushmaster, 2 of them, 1 port, 1 starboard. 25 millimeter is about 1 inch. And also, it's got 50 caliber machine gun and the M240 machine gun. Right, this is, imagine you're standing on starboard side aft looking up at the next deck up. So that's what you're looking at here. This is the aft Mark 41 vertical launch grid. Here's what I meant by the Harpoon missiles. Those ships originally had 4 and 4 going this way. So you could launch 4 to starboard, 4 to port, or 4 to starboard, turn the ship around, 4 more in the same direction. So, look at this CRAM. This ship, I think there were like 8 ships got this. This is a missile. They used the CWIS mount, took the Gatling gun off, and put this 11-round rolling airframe missile mount in its place. Right. 8 ships got that. The other things you see here are, these are illuminators. Here's a standard missile, don't know which one, but heading for something. It's got a target. The purpose of the illuminator, there are only 3 of them on the ship, 1 forward, 2 aft. The purpose of the illuminator is once that missile gets on its way to the target, right, it's got its own navigation to the target. As it gets close, the illuminator comes on and gives it terminal guidance to that missile, to the target. It illuminates the target, which allows the missile to hit it. The problem that a lot of people say, well, it's only got 3 illuminators. I mean, you can only engage 3 at a time? No. This thing is, the Aegis system is so capable, is that the illuminators, whichever they're assigned to, they timeshare. One illuminator might have 10 different targets it's assigned to. And it knows when its missiles are getting close, and it timeshares its illumination. Just amazing. All right, so that's where you're, by the way, this is the rigid hull inflatable boat. Gone are the days of the captain's gig and the motor whale boat.
Great boat.
Okay, laser systems. You might have heard that we're shooting these things down with lasers. There are 2 types of laser. The ODIN, O-D-I-N, which means Optical Dazzling Indicator Navy. And here's a picture of it on one of the ships. It's operational on 8 ships. Its purpose is not hard kill. Its purpose is to dazzle. You remember these idiots that shine a laser at the United Airlines, and they blind the pilot. That's the type of laser you're talking about here. But here is where we purposely are doing that. You're either going to blind the crew of that little boat that's coming in to attack you, or you're going to blind the optics. Remember I asked you to, remember on the drone with the video there? They blind the drone, so the drone doesn't know where it's going, and the drone hits the drink. So that's what the dazzler is. You dazzle, and it's, for human beings, it causes temporary blinding of a human being, but they recover from it, they say. The other is the Helios. This is the hard kill. This is the serious one. It's only on one ship because it's still experimental. You can see it mounted on the Preble. DDG-88 has it. DDG-88 is not one of the ships that are in the Persian Gulf now. It's in Westpac. But it's got a 60 kilowatt, and it's proven. They proved it 6 years ago in a test where it took under fire 4 different surface vessels and killed each of the 4. That's Helios. It's a high energy laser, and it also has a dazzler. So there's you'll see on Facebook and things like that we're now shooting down drones with laser. If we are doing that, it's with this. It's by dazzling them and causing them to miss the target. I talked about rigid hull, inflatable boat. There it is. Right, that's your Liberty boat. Your ship is anchored out. It's a rough night. You're coming back, and you're on your Liberty boat coming back on a rough night. That's what you're coming back on. All right. Now Liberty Call. All ashore, it's going ashore. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it.